I still work, though, because I get to do all the extra jobs. I have 2 children, Kim and Tony, and they both live in Midland, and 5 grandchildren, and they range from 3 to 21.
And I'm Jack Willis, and I work at Portales High School. I've been an educator, a science educator, for 46 years. I teach chemistry and physics at the high school.
I'm Lori Bohm. I've been in the insurance industry since 1984, I started when I was about 2. I also am a real estate broker. I have a host of children and grandchildren, and most of them have grown up in this church.
We've been members of this church for 46 years. We were looking for a church, and we really enjoyed the minister at the time, who was Kenneth Broad. We just have been part of the church family for a long time. And one of the things we've really enjoyed about Central is the love that everybody shows.
One day, Mike Stratton was in my office, and we got to visiting about church, and he asked where I went to church. And I said, well, I hadn't really found one. And he said, well, come on over and visit us at Central. He said, we're just all a bunch of sinners doing the best we can. I'd never heard a church person admit to me that they were a sinner. Maybe that was a church I belonged at.
As far as right now, one of the things that I really love when we're sitting in the congregation is looking out there and seeing all the young people and the military families. It's just wonderful to have a young congregation. There was a time when we were the young people sitting out there. Jack was the youngest father for about 3 years there.
Yeah.
We just got to be good friends. My husband, John, and Jack got to doing projects together. Pat loves a project. Pat would start a project. John usually had a tool that could help. And it just continued to grow. Our friendship grew with them and Mike and Marnie as well. In 1999, my husband, John, was diagnosed with cancer. Then 2 years later, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I think one of my sweetest memories is the first Sunday after I went bald. And all of them seemed to know that I was going to show up in church with a hat. And probably about 50% of the women came to church that Sunday wearing hats. When John's cancer came back, he ended up having a hemorrhage in the middle of the night, and I didn't know what to do. And I picked up the phone about 4 a.m. and called Pat and Jack, and I said, John's hemorrhaging. I've got to get him to Clovis. I don't think I can do it by myself. They just, through all the trials and all the sicknesses and hospitalizations and everything with my family, this church, and most especially Jack and Pat and Mike and Marnie, have just stood beside me and just walked with me through every step of the way. We give Jack a hard time now because we tell the poor man now he's got 2 wives to take care of.
The reason Pat and I stayed was because of the love that we felt and the caring of the people. I think it's just been, it's been a character of this church from the very beginning.
I had communion as a 3-part series. The first part is the past, where Jesus died for our sins, and the present is what our relationship is with him right now, and then the future is going to be being with him in eternity.
Laugh and be joyful in the midst of trials, because God's still there. He's still on the throne, and it's all going to be okay. It just might not be okay the way I wanted it to be, but it's still going to be okay.
We find very often that we tell God we can do it ourselves, and we can't. We can't do any of it ourselves. And so we have to once in a while be reminded in difficult situations to come back to God, to turn things over to him, because he has a plan. It's important to be open and listening to what God is saying to you, to be able to read through and listen to what he's telling me, because when he wrote that Bible, he wrote it for me and you.
We are Central, and we're in this together.
Turn the camera off and I'll tell you some more funny stories.
Please.